Welcome to 5 Star Weekly. We discuss the primary kit leak, transfer rumor updates, and the Tito Bishalba tell-all. All that and more coming up. Welcome to the show, 5 Star fam. I'm AJ, and this is Marc. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. This segment is sponsored by Thinking Man Tavern, a cozy Decatur neighborhood pub. Grab a tasty beverage from a wide variety of selections and a plate of something delicious from the menu. To go, check out Thinking Man Tavern. It's a shorter episode today, so we'll delve into these topics more in depth. And first up on the docket is the MLS CBA update. And MLS and the MLS PA have yet to agree on a new CBA because they pretty much, decided that the last one is kind of null and void now, and they really want to come up with some new parameters for the new season. Pretty much probably signing into maybe 2026, so they don't have to deal with this again next year. But it very well could still happen next year because, the pandemic is still happening. And there's a lot to deal with in terms of lost revenue for a lot of teams because a lot of teams rely more on the gate. So, according to Jeff Carlisle of ESPN, as of Tuesday, they have 20 days to reach a new CBA agreement. And he's saying that there has to be a real urgency from Don Garber, the commissioner. And so the MLSPA reportedly will be responding today, according to Mickey Turner on Twitter, to the Soccer Don's comments yesterday. So these renegotiations will happen at 3 p.m. on Wednesday. So very interesting indeed, because it pretty much puts the season still in flux, pretty much like last year, and hopefully they get it done. What are your thoughts on this, Marc? Like, can we get this done?
I think we do. I think that's I've said in the past maybe kind of what I think about Don Garber, especially in terms of a businessman kind of standpoint, and I guess in this case in terms of negotiations. I think these are negotiation tactics. I think that he's trying to place some urgency on the negotiations, but I think that at the same time he's not surprised by anything. You know what I mean? Like, I think he knows when MLSP are going to respond. Jeff Carlisle also in that thread kind of made the point that he didn't really talk about, while he mentioned that salaries wouldn't be cut, he didn't talk about bonuses, which seems to be, I guess, one of the sticking points from the players' perspective. And at the end of the day, they're negotiating now because the owners, enacted the force majeure clause because these teams have lost money. So. That's kind of why they're back at the table. So, fair enough. But the negotiation, I guess, everybody's trying to protect their parties. Everybody's trying to look out for themselves. So it's going to be a little bit difficult, but I expect it to get done within the time period. And I think that, even Don Garber saying, well, this is a hard deadline. If in 20 days they don't agree to something, I don't think the season's lost. You know what I mean? So I just think everyone's like really negotiating at the moment.
Right. I mean, they took a little bit of a grace period last year as well. So this is just a lot of posturing from both sides when there are negotiations. So it's not, a fatal type of, last negotiation type of thing that he might make it out to be. But it is, very interesting that we're back here again a year later. But hopefully, this stuff will end soon, and we have more certainty. Don Garber has also said that the season will start as per usual. At least that's what he thinks, and so it will be around mid-March. So, hopefully that is the case. And also, according to Doug Roberson, it would be around March or April that the Champions League would return as well. And of course, yeah, we got that very fortuitous Champions League bid this year because we are the holders of the U.S. Open Cup. And yeah, we didn't get to talk about this last week, but it is very, I think, undeserved, one could say. But we'll take it. I mean, that's 3 years in a row in Champions League. It's they maybe could have gone a different routes with maybe some of the teams that's finished higher in the table, maybe, but that's not our problem.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny. I think most of our fans probably wouldn't have been too fussed either way, especially with our experience the last couple of years. But hey, if we're back in it, cool. If the schedule is going to be different this year, that's going to be interesting. Right. I think probably a bit of an uphill battle for a first-year manager, but I would be, it would be interesting. I think we'd have somewhat of a decent chance at least of having a good showing, of having a legitimate showing, and not getting pasted 3-0 like we have the last couple of years.
Gosh, yeah. Hopefully not. Although, yeah, I mean, it will be a different type of, I think, ethos going in, especially with it's a different coach.
Yes.
So,
yes, that's true. Frank de Boer engineered both of those 3-0 losses.
It's very true. So, hopefully, Gabriel Heinze does have something different up his sleeve. But speaking of Heinze and his staff, he has filled out officially his staff that's going to be joining him in Atlanta. So assistant coaches Mariano Tatli, Nicholas Pavlovich, and Pedro Mateo Levas will be joining, as well as fitness coach Javier. This one's going to be a tough one. I'm going to butcher it completely, but Villamitjana, and then video analyst Diego Navone. And then they will join current goalkeeper coach Liam Curran. And so Stephen Glass and Henry Apalou will return to Atlanta United 2. And Tony Annan will return as the academy director. And in addition, Rob Valentino will continue on with the club as a staff coach with a focus on player development. So, good to see like some of the guys that have been the I think not only maybe incumbent, but kind of the people that know this organization through and through have returned in a way, and went back to their I think roles that have suited them well. I think Glassy at 2, it was never about results, and he has helped develop some of these players, like a George Campbell, like a Jackson Conway. So that's good to see, with that type of, I think, pipeline coming through, that he can return. He maybe didn't really cut it out as the head coach of Atlanta United in a lot of senses, where he probably was up against it to a lot of degrees. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things. It's a very difficult job, especially when a team's in crisis. Maybe Atlanta United weren't quite that far, but Atlanta United last season were way off what they were the previous 3 years. So difficult situation for anybody, especially for somebody who maybe doesn't have a whole lot of top flight experience. So I think I think it's fair to say he was just a bit out of his depth. But it'll be interesting to see if he where his career takes him in the future. At least he can put that on his resume.
Absolutely, exactly. He's got first team experience coaching, a team. So that's, I think, definitely something good for his CV for sure. So getting in a little bit more in depth into the assistant coaches. So Tatley has been assistant with Heinze since his first head coach job at Godoy Cruz. He's a former striker, spent time in Portugal, Spain, and Argentina as a player. And then, Pavlovich, also a former striker, coached with Heinze at Vélez Sarsfield, and he started his playing career at Newell's Old Boys in 1998. He's played in Russia, Germany, and Mexico before playing in South America. and Labus, who will be more of a translator, kind of more on the pitch type of guy. He was actually a technical director at Sporting Global LLC. He was it's an official partner of SC Barcelona Academy in the U.S. So that's definitely some good CV there as well. So yeah, a lot of these guys come with, I think, a good bit of experience in a lot of different countries. So I think they'll kind of realize that there are, with each country, different things that are unique and will adjust accordingly, which is good. Also, Vila Mitjana, the fitness coach, he served with Heinze at each of his previous clubs, beginning with Godoy Cruz in 2015. So, all these guys have worked with Heinze for a while, and also Navone, the video analyst, I think, is very, very important to the team for Heinze. According to Felipe Cardenas of the Athletic, essentially any of the kind of Bielsa disciples really, really lean in heavily onto video as one of the ways to not only analyze after games, but to prepare for games. And this will be something that's a stark difference, apparently, from Frank de Boer and what apparently the lack of video analyzing that was done. So it will be good to see that there's more of that done. So I know, yeah, I see, Mark, you're shaking your head. Your thoughts?
No, I mean, my first point was going to be really that I think, especially in the modern game, there are definitely managers who value that video guy, right? That video analysis, that approach. And, it makes sense to me, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Yeah, I think you definitely can learn a lot about not only opponents, but about yourself and, in terms of like correcting mistakes and all that. Yeah, I think video analysis makes a lot of sense, and it should, to me, it's almost like it should be a normal part of like that, of the game for any team, especially at that level. But then like De Boer apparently wasn't, it's just, I can't say anything more about De Boer. Like, he just such a poor fit, such a poor, I don't know. And it just wasn't good. Like, and you see him struggling with Netherlands now, and it's like, are you really surprised?
Right. So yeah, that's exactly, I think, the feeling is like, yeah, I think we could have suspected that he basically wasn't, maybe analyzing it to the degree that maybe we all hoped. But anyway, so let's move on to Moises Caicedo, who reportedly, pretty much from most of the outlets, especially in England, he is off to Brighton, who are, they are not doing the greatest in the Premier League, and they are relegation fodder pretty much at this point. And so there is a high possibility that they could be going down, but Caicedo could be going to them instead of Man U, instead of Everton, instead of Chelsea, and also instead of Atlanta United. So it seems like we're going to miss out to a Premier League side, even though we might have put in a higher bid. But Caicedo, he has the dream of playing in the Premier League. Also, he has talked about his dream of playing for Man U, and pretty much his love for not only Valencia, but the player Valencia, and but also just I think his dream of playing for, I said this last week, I don't want to maybe repeat again, but one of the biggest clubs in the world. So, you can't blame him that he wants to go to the Premier League. But Brighton? It's, how do you feel? It's 4.5 million euros, or pounds, apparently.
Pounds, yeah. I think it makes sense, I think, honestly. Like I said last week, I think making the jump from Ecuador to the Premier League is a big jump, and then especially if you make the jump to Man United and Everton, Chelsea, like he's gonna have difficulty getting into those sides. And so I actually think that Atlanta United could have would have had a decent case as to why he should sign with them, for a couple years and then make the jump when his game is developed a little more. But I think he can do that at Brighton. Like Brighton are not new to this in terms of, I guess, finding good value, especially with young players. They just last January, they signed Tariq Lamptey from Chelsea, who had like a couple first team appearances, but they saw the potential and they signed him, and he's been a fixture at right back for them. And so maybe Caicedo's thinking, I can go there, establish myself. And Brighton, they might stay up. They're not necessarily in a dire situation like Sheffield or even West Brom. So I think it could end up being a smart move from the player's perspective. And then even if he goes down to the Championship, I think that's still a good jump for him in terms of level for him to develop his game. And, he's getting the exposure in England at an early age. So it's tough. I think it's cool being in the mix. It's cool seeing that Atlanta United are still ambitious with the type of players that they want to sign. And if they can even get, one or two of those players to listen, and consider them, I think it shows that Atlanta United still have a pretty good standing in the global transfer market.
Right. And so, yeah, it's, some people might have said that, we've missed out on Santiago Arzamendia, Matias Villasanti. Like, this is just another one of those that we missed out on. But I think you got to think about also that, we also hit on Marcelino Moreno. We, hit on a lot of these other players that have come in that we were linked with. And so it is, yeah. I mean, Caicedo, him being linked with us, along with pretty much all the other teams, our Premier League clubs, it I think says a lot here. And also, with Brighton and their situation, Yves Bissouma, one of their midfielders, might also be an Arsenal target as well. And so, he definitely, I think, will get more playing time than, say, the Man U's and Chelsea's and Everton. So, it makes more sense, obviously, when you think about it, and with all of that type of stuff that we just kind of espoused. So, it sucks, I think, to miss out on this kind of uber talent that's super young and would have transformed our midfield. But I think it's, like you said, nice to be in the conversation on this type of player. Eventually, he moves to a Premier League club. I mean, it's just levels that are, I think, important to really, I think, acknowledge here. So, moving on from that, LA United... the primary kit has leaked according to Footy Headlines, and Mark with a wry smile here because, basically this home shirt, it's a little bit of a departure. It's not exactly striped, it's a little bit more pinstripes, and you got the red stripes in the middle. It reminds me a little bit of like kind of Barcelona's kind of previous one where, there was just lines, but this is a lot more kind of obviously bland and but it's also, we got to realize that this is more of a template from Footy Headlines that they've kind of concocted, and it's not exactly maybe the textures that we would kind of really see up close, and it's essentially just very, I think, for lack of a better word, dumbed down. But, it's still, it looks like the exact training kit that you have on, Mark, which is, the red stripes on the shoulder, black mostly, and then the gold as for most of, what the logos are. So it's, what do you think? What do you think, Mark?
I got first dibs on the new kit. No, I think so. Taking into consideration what you said about this just being like a mock-up and not obviously not being official. So I would hope, I don't mind a black dominant kit, but if the stripes were thicker and further apart, I think I'd be, I'd like that more. You referenced that Barcelona kit, which I think, if I'm thinking of the same one, that was a decent look. I think maybe their colors lend to that design a little more. So if they're, if you were to go with this design from Footy Headlines and then like fill in that middle part a little more, make that more interesting. That I could be into that, I guess. I mean, yeah, I think that I'm really hoping that this is just a very dumbed down like mock-up. You know, like there are some details missing from this that are yet to be revealed. But this template itself does inspire a whole lot of confidence, but I'm willing to wait.
Yeah. There's I think overwhelmingly most of the people aren't loving it, but there are some people that are maybe contrarian, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna grab this up immediately. But I think when you kind of maybe compare it to the OG Five Stripes kit, and then the one that I'm wearing right now, the Star and Stripes, I mean, it's definitely maybe a lot more like I said, bland. There's not as much going on, and like you have said on Twitter as well, yes, there are five stripes in a sense. Pinstripes probably more specifically, but it's I think there was a lot of people that were complaining about that, but it's always been where the logo has five stripes, and not really important that the actual kit itself always has five stripes, because it's a little limiting when you do it that way. So it's something that, though, what could we have done differently? Like what would you have liked to see on this new primary kit, to put your creator hat on, even though we know that this pretty much usually is created pretty much a year in advance. So, it's going to be something fairly similar to this, and Footy Headlines doesn't usually miss. So,
what would I have done? Just like out of thin air? I think, so you have Barcelona in my head. Do you remember that sort of checkerboard pattern, I guess, is the best way I can describe it? That uniform? I think that would have been interesting. See them do something like that, especially with the black and red. I think something like that would be interesting. I mean, I agree with you in terms of like, it doesn't have to be five stripes all the time. It really doesn't always have to be stripes necessarily. You know what I mean? I think, but I guess that's a uniform I'd like to see us try out.
I think, I guess we have Barcelona on the mind. They had a pretty much like salmon kit that had the pretty much in terms of texture, it was the city blocks essentially of Barcelona, of Catalonia, and I think that would be something interesting to kind of adopt idea-wise. Atlanta city blocks as kind of not what's the word? Not in a grid system as many really more well-developed cities. But we're very unique in a lot of senses. So maybe like 5 points, or like, the area around the stadium. That could have been interesting as sort of a texture, as, underneath that, with maybe kind of, either maybe it could be gold, it could be gray or something. I don't know. Like something as just, something to add to this would be, I think, more interesting. So, I think we'll have to see. This is a wait and see type of one for sure. Although I'm sure eventually when you see it on the players, that's kind of how it goes. Like, you're just probably going to buy it anyway.
Exactly.
Like, as with it most always happens. So, although I haven't gotten the King kit yet either, and I may wait until, it gets a little like, less expensive, and because it's I think a lot of people that I've heard with the white kits, it washes them out. Maybe not necessarily for me, but more of the Caucasian variety. I understand that. You wear white, and then you are white. I mean, something's gonna give a little bit. So. Totally understand that why some people have not bought the King kit, but anyway, let's move on. Or actually, we'll make sure that we do know that the away kit will stay the same. It will be the King kit. and that previously talked about third kit will be, that kind of burgundy one that we spoke about last week. So anyway, let's move on to Tito Fischalba talking to The Athletic and Felipe Cardenas, where he said some very, very interesting things. First of all, leading off, saying that if Atlanta United need me, if they want to involve me and they agree that I should come back, I would love to return. Woo! Let's just address that first off. Marc, would you have him back?
My heart says absolutely, without a doubt, yes. My head says it would depend on the price, because he was a TAM player. When he left, he was originally a designated player. I don't think he could be brought back even as a TAM player. I guess we do have a need at right wing. So
do we? Jurgen Damm, Brooks Lennon. It's I don't know. He would be fighting for spots there for sure again. And
yeah, I guess he'd be fighting for. In my head, I would think that he would be the favorite among those players to start. And then I guess in theory, you could play him on either wing. Although I think he's better on the right. Yeah, but so that's the thing. It's like, okay, the need and then the cost, and so it's all. Yeah. You always have to consider that, especially with MLS salary structure. But heart, absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with you here. Although I would wager that, and I mentioned this on Twitter and various other places, that just come back so that we can get that rematch, that highly coveted rematch that we desire.
I'll play this time.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. I think you cannot fare worse than how Tanner and Devin did. And I'll be honest, I don't play a lot of FIFA, so yeah. If I played, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse, actually. So, but
you, me versus Tito is what I'm hearing.
Oh yeah, and I have a feeling that like 5-0 or 5-1 is the least of our worries there. So, but still, it'd be a lot of fun, I think, to kind of rehash that and see how we do really. But I'm sure he's practicing away every single day still. He's got that Pelican case where he's got the the console and the game and the screen, and he's just playing every single day from there. Probably COD as well and other video games. But anyway, he also spoke about how the state of the club at this time and leaving the club. He says that and pretty much speaking to other players that have left the club, he said, "It hurt. I've spoken with a lot of these guys that left, and we couldn't believe what had happened to the club. It was difficult to see. Hopefully the club will go back to what we were all used to, a team that's always at the top of the table." And so definitely agree there. Fischalba, I see him, not only liking a lot of our posts, but also reading a lot of our stories. Or like looking at our stories. So he definitely keeps up with the club for sure. And so he's definitely got it close to his heart that he, is someone that I think is very fond of Atlanta and Atlanta United. And there were a lot of people that have noticed that he didn't write anything like a thank you to the fans or the city, even though there is maybe that, kind of said love. But he says, "There were many reasons why I didn't write anything. I was upset and frustrated with the way I had to leave. I didn't want to leave. That's the truth. But I felt like I had to in order to play. I'd like to apologize to the fans because they deserved a public show of gratitude at the very least. They treated me magnificently. I'd come home and find letters from kids and from my neighbors. It was a level of affection that I could never forget." And kind of just speaking about his home, apparently to Felipe Cardenas, he said that Marcelino Moreno is currently living in Tito Fischalba's current Atlanta home, and that he might have actually gotten a second Atlanta home. So he definitely, has kind of this affinity for Atlanta and does return. But I think what's interesting here about the why he didn't write anything, like for me, I kind of liken it to, I've written a lot of kind of thank you notes over the years, and sometimes, well, I have a friend that I pretty much have their thank you note, and I thought I was going to see them a lot sooner, but and I literally just took a walk with them yesterday, and I forgot to give it to him. And I pretty much liken it to this kind of situation where you're just like, it's just kind of too late. I mean, in the thank you note for that person, literally mentions, hope you had a happy, or have a happy holiday. It's like perspective. Like, hope you have a happy holiday. It's like, yeah, sometimes you just leave it too late. And it's just, well, you know, how are they going to feel afterwards? It's like, it's a little convoluted. Do you just rewrite a new one? Like, do you, like, I don't know. You know, it's just like, probably Vishalba is pretty much in a very similar situation here. But, Mark, how do you feel about him not having ever written any thank you to the fans or the city or the club? I mean, you know, do you take offense?
I thought it was strange at the time. I was like, okay, you know what I mean? And it's not one of those things where it's like, I'm not gonna make a big deal about it, but I did notice, like, obviously, like, LGP and Julian Gressel and others did. But, you know, from this perspective where it seems like he was kind of, you know, it's all happening, basically. He's kind of told to go to the airport, you know, he signed with a new team, and then you're moving to a new country and you're trying to settle in, and I can understand how things get lost in the shuffle. On a personal confession, I'm really bad at Instagram. I haven't posted since like July, and I always, like, every now and again I'm like, oh, I should do a post about this, and then like a couple days pass, a couple weeks pass, and I'm like, this isn't relevant anymore. So like I kind of feel like that happened with Tito, where you're just like, oh yeah, I need to do this, and then, like, you know, it's just like you don't get around to it, you got training or whatever, and then eventually enough time passing, you're just like, it's whatever. But I'm glad he's getting to explain the side of the story. I mean, like, this was a very interesting article, you know what I mean? He did not his lack of affection for De Boer was thinly veiled, you know, and we've already said a bit about De Boer, but this is just more evidence, really. No hard feelings over here for Tito, though.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that I think was a good custodian for the club, or servant for the club, you know, if we want to say it that way. But it also mentioned in this article that the Athletic had sources that 2 Eastern Conference teams have expressed interest in signing Vishalba, and if he, you know, would return. He also talked about Gabriel Heinze. That the hire is, quote, exciting, and that he would like to play for, you know, a coach like him eventually, and that he knows how demanding he is, and that, you know, as an Argentine, if someone were to tell you that Heinze is going to be your coach, that's very motivating, especially after what he did at Vélez. So, you know, I think he comes with, I think, a very, very good reputation, Heinze. So, Tito knows that as well. So, you know, I think Tito, knows, to some degrees, that's, you know, LA United probably needs this type of coach. And I think many of us would agree. So, let's move on to Atlanta United 2, and they have signed former Riverhound SC player Robbie Mertz, who, has been likened to, or at least been quoted as Yinzer Messi, which Yinzer being kind of an area around Pittsburgh. He said, quote, "So excited for this opportunity. Thank you to everyone who has continued to support me in my dream. I'm really looking forward to helping contribute to such a great club." I mean, that's great to hear that he respects Atlanta United and Atlanta United 2 this much. But let's get back to that Yinzer Messi bit. I mean, that's high praise a little bit, in a sense where, I mean, he is a USL player, and, you know, Messi, that's like a huge kind of comparison for a lot of players that many fail to live up to. So this is maybe, as at least according to the Pittsburgh Soccer Now website, maybe lofty, very lofty praise that could be too much kind of pressure put on a player. And he is 24, so he's not a spring chicken, maybe in that sense anymore, at least in kind of USL terms. But he is apparently a guy that's playing in attacking midfield, left midfield, or even in central midfield, has a great work rate, but also is a guy that, like Messi, can kind of dribble at you and whatnot, create some chances there that way. But I think one of the most interesting things about Mertz in this article is that he is an Arsenal fan, and that he is a Thierry Henry invincible Arsenal fan. And for that alone, I'm like, Robbie Mertz, welcome to the club. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the any sort of Arsenal references that he can make. I would be happy to hear them. So anyway, it's good to welcome a fellow Arsenal fan in Robbie Mertz. So anyway, let's move on to Atlanta United's head of technical recruitment, Lucy Rushton. She was on Sky Sports News, giving a little bit of insight into how women can succeed in the male-dominated arena of player recruitment. And yeah, Lucy Rushton has been with the club since the very beginning, and yeah, she's done a bang-up job. Maybe last year, there is that little bit of an anomaly that we are looking at the whole technical staff really at. So, there is a little bit of that people are going to kind of shake their stick at, but I think she's done a tremendous job, and the fact that she's able to speak on Sky Sports News is, I think, very inspiring, and hopefully for a lot of women out there and in our audience, they can be some, something of an inspiration to kind of go after your dreams. So, anyway, let's go on to the final bit of news, or kind of odds and ends. And LAFC did this kind of mashup collaboration with an artist in LA named Hokyun Choi, and it's pretty much, according to them, the first ever Korean merchandise collection in MLS history. It's available now, but I think it's super cool, and I think with kind of Georgia and Atlanta, especially in Gwinnett County and Buford Highway being as kind of culturally diverse as it is, with if you've ever had Korean barbecue or any other sort of Korean food, or really just Asian food or Hispanic food in general, it is amazing what you can find in these two areas, and kind of it's expanded for sure. But I think something like this for Atlanta United would be amazing, selfishly and biasedly. That I think we can clearly do. I think there are maybe more than we think. Asian fans in this crowd that would clamor for this and eat it all up. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on this, and some other things that I think could be inspired from something like this type of collaboration?
Yeah, no, I mean, I fully agree with you, and you mentioned that you may be kind of biased, but the tweet from our account, suggesting that Atlanta United should do this actually did a fair bit of numbers, right? So there are clearly people out there who agree. And in terms of how many, I agree with you again that there are probably a lot more Asian Atlanta United fans than maybe we recognize, like, I guess, reflexively. But it's also an opportunity to kind of tap into that part of the city and the fan base. I think that Atlanta United in general could do a little better in terms of reaching out to and representing these cultures, like in an authentic sense. And I don't want to take it away from the example here with the Korean community, But I would also make that argument for even the Latino community. Like I think that the club could do, I think, a little better, a little more in terms of like the merchandising and the social media and all that. But yeah, I would totally agree with you. I mean, like, look, I'm even considering getting something from this collection if I can. Although I feel like it's going to be difficult to get, especially if they do like if they do limited quantities. But no, I think it'd be a great idea, and I think that the market would absolutely be there for it.
Definitely. I mean, especially with this, I think with how Korean food has come on in the last decade, essentially, as well, that's something that, for the culture is definitely something that needs to be done. Also, shout out to our friends at For the Culture. What up? But anyway, so pretty much that does it for the show, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, are you upset that we're missing out on Moises Caicedo? Obviously, I've said that we're happy to be in the conversation with Premier League clubs, but are you upset? Would you like for us to maybe grab someone kind of similar or of a similar ilk in terms of like stature, in terms of like, super prospect, wonder kid? Let us know in the comments below. We are interested in what you have to say. So that does it for the show. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. And for Mark, I'm AJ. Thank you so much for watching, and I love you, Corey.